OnePlus is back, and just 10 months after launching the OnePlus 13. This is the new OnePlus 15. Yes, they skipped 14 because it's considered unlucky in Chinese culture. It doubles down on what they do best: better performance, bigger battery. At first glance, the numbers are really impressive for sure, but some of their other choices, yeah, it feels a little confusing. Hi everyone, Ta here. So it's a completely new design this year. Very on trend with the whole boxy squared off look. It kind of reminds me of the Pixel Fold from the back. Not the most exciting design, but honestly, I do think it looks good. The sandstone color apparently has a special finish on the frame. The treatment they put it through makes it over 3 times harder than aluminum and even tougher than titanium. Sounds a little too good to be true, but I'll take it. It's got this smooth, stone-like texture that's super different from anything else out there. Really unique, and yeah, the color's giving me this warm desert kind of vibe, which low-key, I'm obsessed with. Bonus points for no fingerprints and pretty much no wobble either. It also has all sorts of IP ratings for water and dust resistance. I'll throw them up on the screen, but yeah, it should be pretty durable. A key hardware change this year is that the alert slider's gone, replaced by what they're calling the plus key. It's customizable to a bunch of different actions like toggling the flashlight or sound modes. The UI built around it looks awfully familiar, but hey, it works and looks good. And for anyone who still loves having an IR blaster, it's still here, just moved from the top to the back, tucked between the cameras. So now you have to point the back of your phone at whatever you're trying to control. Now, the first big number you'll hear about is the 165Hz refresh rate. And yeah, it sounds impressive, but does it actually matter? The truth is, only if you're a gamer. And that's because most apps right now can't even use it. They're capped at 120Hz. The only time I've seen this display hit 165Hz is while gaming, and even then, only a few select games actually support it. Call of Duty, Real Racing 3, and a handful of others, but it's really not that many. Basically, 165Hz is overkill for non-gamers and more of a fancy marketing number, at least for now. Surprisingly, the resolution actually got a slight downgrade, dropping from Quad HD Plus to Full HD Plus. Apparently, it was a trade-off to hit that 165Hz spec. I personally can't tell the difference. To me, it's still very sharp, but I get it. No one's gonna like seeing brands take a step backwards. One thing I do appreciate though is that the screen is completely flat now and the bezels are ultra thin, even thinner than the iPhone. So it looks very sleek and modern. Brightness isn't class leading, but it's respectable and perfectly fine outdoors. HDR content doesn't really pop like it does on a Pixel or an iPhone, and calibration also feels a bit off on my eyes. In some scenes, shadows are a little too dark and you lose detail that you just don't on other phones. Don't get it twisted though, those are minor complaints. This is still a great looking display. Speakers are a highlight. They get nice and loud with pretty good clarity. The low end isn't as punchy as I like, but compared to both the Pixel and iPhone, I actually think the OnePlus sounds the best. OnePlus has always done big batteries, but what they've put in here is something we can't even imagine coming from Samsung or Google. This phone has a massive 7,300 milliamp hour battery. I know what you're thinking. Damn, that phone must feel like a brick. But no, it doesn't. It's actually lighter than both the big phones from Samsung and Apple. The Pixel 10 Pro is my daily driver, and I kid you not, I'm getting over double the battery life. Pixels aren't exactly known for having great endurance, but the OnePlus 15 lasting over twice as long is kind of wild, right? Looking at my typical battery tests, it's just very impressive across the board. To give some perspective, with lighter usage, I've ended days with like 70 to 75% left. This is a consistent 2-day battery for me, and with lighter usage, it can push into the 3rd day. There's some concern about longevity with the new high-capacity battery tech, but OnePlus says it'll still hold over 80% capacity over 4 years. Charging is of course wicked fast, as we've come to expect from them. I measured a 0 to 100 time of around 45 minutes. Also, nice of them to keep including the charging brick in the box too. This is the first phone in North America to launch with the new Snapdragon 8 Elite Gen5. And yeah, it's definitely faster, we all expected that, but OnePlus also improved the cooling system, added a dedicated chip for near-instant touch response, and even upgraded to a higher precision gyroscope. All of this makes the phone feel like it was built with gamers in mind. They're clearly doubling down on performance and want performance to be what sets them apart. Tough titles like Destiny Rising and Delta Force run really well. Call of Duty Mobile, one of the few games that actually supports 165Hz, plays beautifully on this phone. The high refresh rate and quicker touch response just gives you that extra edge. It also runs noticeably cooler than most devices I've tested. That said, for everyday use, yeah, the phone's very snappy, but you probably won't feel any of that extra power. Having the best processor on the market does give you a ton of headroom though. The phone should stay nice and fast for years. It's running Oxygen OS 16, which is fast, smooth, and relatively clean. That part's great, but honestly, it feels a little like a Frankenstein mashup of Apple and Samsung. For example, they've borrowed a lot from Apple. Live Alerts is basically their version of Dynamic Island. It works really well for quick access to music, sports scores, and switching sound modes. Even the software around the plus button and quick settings panel feel very iPhone-like. Then there's Samsung's influence. The smart sidebar is basically Edge panel. You can launch apps in a floating window, resize it, move it to the side, even adjust transparency. Samsung actually removed that option recently, so if you missed it, OnePlus has it. One thing I love is the gestures they've added. You've got this nifty icon pull-down gesture, making apps on your home screen way easier to reach with one hand. Then there's this multitasking gesture that lets you quickly throw apps into split screen by dragging to the top left or a pop-up window by dragging to the top right. It's intuitive, saves time, and looks super slick. I wish more brands did this. There are a couple of annoyances for me, mainly around how it handles notifications. First of all, lock screen notifications automatically disappear once you unlock the phone, even though you haven't checked them, which can be annoying if you don't want to reply to things right away or come back to them later. Then there's the notification dot, which is turned off by default. So if I want that visual cue on my home screen, I have to manually turn it on in the settings. I mean, I feel like it should be on by default. And finally, their update policy isn't quite as good as what you get from Samsung or Google. Ultimately, they're gonna have to improve on this if they want to stay competitive. The cameras are always going to be a hot topic for OnePlus because, let's be real, it's one area people usually criticize them for. A couple of things to note. On paper, the camera hardware actually took a tiny step back this year. Both the main and telephoto cameras have smaller sensors. They also ended their partnership with Hasselblad and moved to their own in-house imaging platform. That said, the phone can take some really nice pictures. There have been moments where I'm like, whoa, that's kind of impressive. But then there's also been moments where I'm thinking, damn, what the heck happened? And that's its biggest problem. It's just a little too inconsistent for me. The telephoto has longer reach this year, and like I said, it can totally capture some stunning close-up shots. But you can also end up with photos that look muddy and just not super pleasing. The selfie camera is surprisingly good. I found myself preferring it over both my Pixel and iPhone on several occasions. Video quality is actually pretty respectable. I'd say it holds up surprisingly well even next to the latest iPhone, which most people consider the gold standard. The gap starts to show once you zoom in or move around more. As you can see, stabilization isn't quite as smooth. So yeah, the cameras are fine, actually pretty good for the most part. Obviously not the best, but definitely not the worst. It'll get the job done for most people. So look, the OnePlus 15 feels like classic OnePlus. It takes what they've always done best, performance and battery, and dials it up a notch. Some choices are a little confusing though, like dropping the resolution just to hit 165Hz, which most apps can't even use. Or the switch to smaller camera sensors, but to be fair, it didn't really hurt the results much, and OnePlus was never known for their cameras anyways. So I guess it was an area they felt they could cut costs a bit. Some fans might be disappointed because they were hoping for a OnePlus phone that could finally go toe-to-toe with Samsung or Apple in every single category. But at this lower price point, expecting it to beat the best of the best at everything, especially the cameras, just isn't realistic. If cameras aren't your top priority and you care more about battery life or top-end performance, this phone totally delivers. I think their biggest challenge is still brand recognition. They just don't have the same everyday pull as Samsung, Apple, or even Google. But if they keep delivering rock-solid phones like this, people are definitely gonna start noticing. Anyways, let me know what you think about the phone in the comments and if you'd ever consider switching to a OnePlus. If not, what's stopping you? As usual, thank you so much for watching. Until the next one, I'm out of here.